show on the road.
Okay, Travis, thank you so much for having me here today virtually. And I'm honored to be able to speak to all of you. I have a couple of questions to start us off with. So, when we're running a business, we have to have a strategy to help us focus. But how many of us assess the people that we need to accomplish the strategy? Do we have the people to support us, or do we need to hire? So I have a chance for you to participate right off the bat. How many of you love to hire? So I'll give you a couple of options. So you can put your answers in the chat if you would like. So yes, it's my favorite thing to do. I'm fairly good at it. I don't like it, but do it. I'd rather wash dishes, or hiring is the worst thing ever. Is there a roof I can jump off? So if you'd like to put your responses in chat, that would be great. So, and so what do we have here? Okay, good. There are six. Good, good, good. So fairly good at it, finding team members as a hit and miss. That's Travis. JJ, love it. Yes. I'm fairly good at it. And then one person that's never hired. So there are no roofs here. So good for you guys. I could say I every once in a while I needed a roof. My name is Marla Noel. My business is SC Growth Advisors, and I have an organization that helps businesses through strategic planning and cultural development. So my clients tell me that I'm great at problem solving, and I'm able to help them grow their business and develop their teams for success. Something that's really important for you to know about me, I'm incredibly clumsy. So I took ballet when I was whatever age that was, and I literally fell out of the car after my first ballet lesson. So no, I wasn't injured, but my family still laughs about it. So they can be mean. So I'll tell you a little bit about my story. I was running a business, and I knew that I needed to grow the business. I had very smart and caring people, but growing the business was truly difficult. So again, if you want to pitch in, how many of you really struggle with growing the business and how to do it? If you'd like to speak up, that would be great.
Yeah.
Annie, how about you? What's been the biggest challenge you think for growing your business?
For me, I think the biggest challenge is people they don't have personally. I run a lot of e-commerce now, and lots of big portion profit from e-commerce, and some people don't have the work ethic, and they're not able to work under minimum supervision, because now it's not really safe to work in it's more like work from virtually, and it's very critical for me to hire the people that have the same values, and even though they sound good on paper, but for me now I care the more actually just the work ethic.
Yeah. So on top of hiring the right people to grow your business, they also have to be able to work from home now, right?
Yes. So yes.
So one more challenge. So anybody else? Does anybody else have any challenges that they'd like to let me know about or talk about?
Well, one of the challenges that I see with some of the startups that I work with is that they start off as friends, and they have this great idea, and they start this business, right? So they start a business, and they're going after it, and then just over time there seems to be a like a really slow, just like separating of ways. They don't agree on solutions. They don't even agree on what they should be doing. And then over time, it could just start falling apart. And from what I've seen, at least anecdotally, is that the ones that have the hardest times are the ones that are both, see themselves as the leaders, the hard chargers, the type A kind of personality. And that seems to lead to a lot of conflicts.
Right. So partnerships are very, very challenging. So I've got an example of a partnership that I worked with a little bit later. But yeah, when you've got two people and they're both driving the business, how can you make sure that you get along and keep communicating and go down the right path? So anybody else in here as far as challenges with growing the business? Caleb, how about you?
I myself have had challenges of maintaining that partnership. For whatever reason, they may need to go on their own path of like, hey, I need to focus on something else. I get that. So like wearing many hats for myself is very difficult. So I think that's a struggle, but also trying to find like talent and being okay with like out of a 10 scale, like I'm never gonna find that 10. So like I'm gonna have to like train that guy who's like a 7 or 8 and have to work with it. Like, that's another one. And like even if it's not a business, just having like an accountability person that like helps you with your goals and stuff. Sometimes like when things become like when one person fails and you're like trying to motivate them or like see like, what good could come out of it, they have to make that choice, and you guys started it as an accountability buddy or whatever. But they have to make the choice to start that new habit. Like there's not really much you can do. So like starting something is hard, that I have a struggle with, like maintaining that accountability relationship when after someone fails.
Yeah.
The first time.
Getting the people that, number one, live up to your standards. So it sounds like you have some pretty high standards, right? And you should expect to have people live up to your standards. So there's nothing wrong with that. But it's challenging to make sure that you're getting people that live up to the same standards that you are thinking are important. So yeah, good, thank you. Doug, how about you?
Yeah, so I've had a lot of different roles in startups and emerging companies, including founder and executive. And so what I found is, and I hate to think that this is leadership, but it must be, is I don't pick the right people. I think that we're on the same page, but then I find out they just want to kind of sit on the bus and be pulled up the mountainside. They're really not interested in pulling that bus up the mountainside. So I find that as a difficult thing to admit, and after 60 some years, I still haven't figured it out.
So, I'm right there with you. So Doug, that was a great lead into my next slide. So for me, trying to grow my business was like pulling a wagon with 2 wheels. So if you can relate to that, only my wagon didn't have this load of bags of cash in it. So I tried for years to grow the business, so too many years. And what I think about is how much profitability was I not making when I was struggling to grow the business. And I had a challenge with my board of directors agreeing that we even needed to grow the business. So there are a couple of facts for my business that I think are important. So for us, we were running out of revenue producing inventory with no way to replace it. We had great demographics, and our competition was really poor at market share. So we were taking a lot of their market share, So I was growing the business that way, but I needed to grow the business. I knew I needed to grow the business into a different demographic, into a different region. And I was really struggling with that. Just such an incredible challenge. So I would say after finally growing the business and selling it for 15 times EBITDA, I can say this: I wish I knew then what I knew now, what I know now. I wish I knew then what I know now. So some of you can totally relate to that, especially those of you with some years of experience, right? We've gone through some things and we just think, wow, if I had had some business knowledge that would have helped me through this. And I do think as business owners, as CEOs, our job is to help find resources for growing or help managing our business, right? And so for those of you who are here with the incubator, I think that this is a great resource for helping you grow your business. So those of you who are participating, that's incredibly smart. I think that you have a huge advantage over the competition. And from my experience, I see a lot of business owners that think they know it all, and they really don't think they need any outside help, right? They think they know it all. And so if you're here as part of the incubator, you're already one step ahead of your competition. And I know I've talked to Annie before, and Annie is looking constantly for people that can give her advice. Yeah, right. Nobody knows it all, right, Annie?
No.
So, no, we need to have people outside of our team sometimes, or we need to get the right team in our business. So how do we do that? And so I know that some of you are hoping that there might be a good answer here. So as CEOs, we spend 39% of our time focused on strategy development and less time, 30%, on talent strategy, and maybe even less. So I know for me, I was working on strategy. So we ended up having a strategic planning meeting. First, it was once every 5 years, and then it was once every 2 years, and then it became every single year. So, so are you all having strategy meetings on a regular basis?
So I know that like at our Center for Entrepreneurship, we host them board meetings twice a year. And then in between, we'll have ambassador meetings once a month. Marla, you're in on those. And so, yeah, it's pretty front and center for us.
Yeah. And it was definitely important for me. So we focused a lot on strategy, but I did not align my team to support the strategy. So I didn't even think about it as part of, oh, this is what I need. I at that time, I really felt like my team was going to be there. But what could I have done differently? So eventually I realized that my team just was not capable of supporting my dream. So what could I have done differently? What do you guys think? So Annie, what do you think I could have done differently?
Support the strategy so you can just bring out outside help. Bring in outside help if your team wasn't able to support your strategies or your goals, and so you can go faster.
Yeah, good. Outside help. That's a very good option. So anybody else?
I think you need to interview them a little bit like more effectively, like to find out what they want and if it aligns with what you want and where you guys can go together if you can't. Yeah.
And yes, I think that that's a very good idea. Now I thought my team. So Ava, sorry, Eva. Did you have some input?
This is Eva.
Eva.
We were gonna say, yeah, someone was talking to me when I was trying to get in. I was trying to say that you need someone who's an expert on something like accounting or marketing or operations, so that they bring in a wealth of information to you, so you can spend less time and kind of coordinate things faster and better.
Right. So we have to realize, first of all, where we sit. So this is working on being self-aware, right? I think that's incredibly important as a business leader. So those of you who are in the incubator, you're self-aware enough to know that you need outside support. So I think that shows quite a bit as far as your thinking through your business and how to grow it. So as a business, we were great at operations and we were great at marketing. And so, and if you look at this little guy, we know that most of us have skills, knowledge, some experience, and that's what this little briefcase is. But we have behaviors up here that fit our work sometimes, if we're successful, the work fits our behavior. So hopefully our behavior fits our work and our work fits our behaviors. So we did not look at the behavior that we needed to grow the business. And so, but I will show you in just a little bit what that looks like. So I did use behavioral assessments to hire salespeople. But again, I was just using the assessments for one particular group of my business, not everybody. And so I was not aligning my strategies with my talent. So, and as we're looking at behavioral assessments in this tool, there really are no right or wrong behavioral styles, but there are behavioral preferences that match different strategies. So that's what I think are important to look at. So I happen to like the Predictive Index, and Annie was nice enough to agree to take this assessment. So thank you, Annie. So Annie is a persuader. For those of you who know Annie, you're probably chuckling right now because you know that to be true. But let's look at Annie on a graph form. So I'll talk about this graph and what it means because, I mean, that's part of why I really like this assessment tool. But Annie sits right here. And so Annie is innovative and agile. She's ambitious and fast talking. And she's more interested in connecting with people than she is about details. So Annie is a big thinker type of a person. So Annie, would you agree with this assessment?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much of this assessment. But although I never consider myself a persuader, and that I have heard people say before, but I never thought of it that way of myself. So that's not very surprising, but I just never thought of myself.
Yeah, so, and so this is from answering a series of questions. It's not a very long test, or it's not a test, it's not a very long assessment. Let me tell you a little bit about this graph. So in Annie being innovative and agile, Annie can move this way to teamwork and employee experience fairly easily, and Annie can move this way to results and discipline, but it's much harder for Annie to move across the quadrant. So much harder for Annie to move to process and precision. And so you heard me say that Annie doesn't really appreciate or want to spend time with the details. That's over here. And so that is not something that Annie likes to spend time doing. So Perla was nice enough to also take the assessment. So Perla is disciplined and patient. This is Perla right here. She's a little bit closer to the middle, which tells me that she's flexible. She's concerned with her details and accuracy. So when Perla does something, completes something, she wants it to be perfect. So Perla, would you agree with this?
Yes, I would agree with it.
Yeah, so thank you. Now, I'm going to use a relationship guide to show you Annie and Perla. Now, if Annie and Perla were operating a business together, we can see that I have their strengths. So here, it shows me that Anna can help Perla by supporting her ideas and create a united front. And then, but Annie can talk about the broad ideas, and Perla is good at translating Annie's ideas into specifics. So that's really helpful to know. Always good to know our strengths, but also we have some cautions. So Annie may dominate the agenda and walk right all over Perla's brilliant ideas. And then Perla might feel like Annie would communicate without getting to the point, and whereas Annie might think that Perla is too focused on the details. And so, you know, this shows that these two people on the other opposite sides of the quadrant could have some challenges. So every single relationship in a business is going to have challenges. So it's really helpful to know what those are. So these, I also have tips for Annie and Perla. Annie might be the one who sets the agenda, but Perla should make sure that Annie is clear on specific actions. So this is really helpful in moving forward when we're running a business, right? So thank you, Annie and Perla. So what I did though was, in addition to their behavioral preference and their styles, I put on this strategy here to add a little bit of depth to our understanding. What I want to first tell you though is I have a client that matches this. One partner is an Annie. She's innovative and agile. And the other partner, it has precise precision and processes. She's great at that. Now, the reason why this is so good for these two is that their type of business requires detail and accuracy in what they do for their clients, but they need to get clients first. So one of the partners, when I showed them this, and I shared how they could have challenges with communication, we talked about that, and everything that I talked about for Annie and Perla is true for these two people that have a partnership together. And it is a very good functioning business. But what this person could appreciate is that she needs this partner to go out and help get clients for the business. And what this person was able to appreciate was that this individual made sure that everything they did for their clients was accurate, that they didn't send out social media with mistakes in it. That's very embarrassing, right? So that worked together really well with the two of them, seeing how important it was to them and how it benefited their business. So one thing that I point out is I am on this graph as well. This is me. I sit here in innovative and agility. So I can be innovative, I can be results and discipline driven. And this strategy, which I've identified here, so the dark purple is our strategy. We wanted to grow the business. We wanted to implement new things, develop new products, and we wanted to have standards and rules. So these two quadrants is where my strategy was for the business I was trying to grow. And my team members, my executive team, were over here. They were in teamwork and employee experience and process and precision. So they really did not help me here in trying to grow the business. So, and again, I suggest, you know, for all you business owners, leaders, it's really important to look for your resource. So I was looking for my resources. I knew I needed help. And that's why I joined Vistage. And so Vistage's group of CEOs where you can process issues and work on your businesses. A lot of the people that join Vistage join because they need to be better at business processes. Well, I was pretty good at that. I needed to learn how to be a better entrepreneur. So that helped me grow the business. And I really appreciate that. Just like the incubator here, it's an outside resource for me to grow the business. Now, if my business strategy is here and here, I can also do other things. I can look at my next level down and test my managers the next level. So my executive team was here, but I could have looked at my managers to see if any of them were in this innovative and agility realm, or I could have looked at people that I could have hired to offset our inability to really push the business. So, so Ava asks, what is the results and discipline type person, pros and cons? So I will answer, that's a good question, Ava. So I can get to that in just a second. So when I'm done with this, I will certainly show you that. So thank you, good question. Because I certainly have that within the software. So, so I could have hired somebody from the outside to help me. So instead of joining Vistage, I could have looked for a resource to bring into the company. And so the assessment tool helps with that. So now in this case, assessments are truly helpful and time savers when we're hiring. And in most assessment tools, it's fairly easy to identify a target. So I know of the type of behavior I think is important in a sales manager. So how many of you have hired the wrong sales manager? Anybody? So Doug, have you seen that before?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, we went through a vetting process with that sales manager with an advisory board of marketing and salespeople. So it wasn't just an in-house decision. We we went through an advisory board who we thought knew better.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it really is hard to hire, you know, some of our senior level executives, but the assessment tool helps with this. Did you use an assessment tool when you were hiring?
I don't recall. I don't think so, not on that role.
Yeah. And really years ago, so when I started using assessments, they were not as common as they are now, right? So, and when I was using assessments, I was just doing one at a time instead of providing assessments to every person that came and applied. But here we have, and I can easily put in my assessment target for a sales manager or any other position that I want to hire for. And I simply put in what I think is appropriate. Now, if I wasn't hiring a sales manager, say I was hiring a project engineer and I wanted to identify the behaviors and I had a person that was incredibly successful in that role, then I would have the successful person take a behavioral assessment, and then I would try and hire to match to that assessment that I got from somebody who's already successful. But in this case, I'm hiring sales manager, so I put in a target already, and I have some of these fictitious people that I had everybody that came to apply for the job take my behavioral assessment. So all these people applied for the job, but I don't want to interview all of them. I only want to interview a few of them because, you know, interviewing takes a lot of time and effort. So I might interview Marla. I've heard she's pretty smart. I would interview Samantha. I would interview Zoe, possibly Owen, and I would interview Alberto. Now, I would not interview, sorry, There was one person down here. Here, I wouldn't interview Keith. So Keith is a 2 rating in my behavioral assessment. So, but let me show you what that looks like. This is Keith. So he's almost the opposite of the type of behavior I think is important for this particular job. So I would interview Alberto. This is Alberto. And as you can see, he matches almost perfectly. Now, so I would definitely interview Alberto. And if you notice, this person would have be innovative and agile, and he would be the kind of person that could help me grow the business. So, oh, go ahead.
How do you interpret this graph? I'm not sure how you figure out that he's a good match, because I don't understand how the software works.
Oh, good. Thank you. All right. So let me explain this, what I put in my target. So when I'm deciding the sales manager and what a sales manager should look like, I decide that the person should be very independent. In other words, this is an executive level person. I shouldn't have to tell this person how to do their job, right? So they need to be independent. They need to be fairly sociable. They need to be able to work with their team and talk with their team. I want them to be driving versus steady, because they've got to have that get up and go. They need to be wanting to push forward and to succeed. And they need to be more flexible over precise. So I'm sorry, but precision takes time. And as a sales manager, I need to move fast. So that's my opinion, but you might have a different opinion or a different type of success. But this is how I use this tool in evaluating these people. So everybody on my list here, everybody on this list has taken this behavioral assessment already. And so by looking at their graphs, the software, and again, most assessment software will do this, will tell me who most closely matches what I'm looking for. Now, when I show you this person who is more collaborative, pretty reserved, very steady, and very precise, quite frankly, that might be a good person for an engineer, for a project engineer, because those might be the exact targets that I'm looking for to be able to drive the reporting. I might want this in an architect too, you know, because everything they do has to be incredibly precise. So, so thank you, Eva. That's a good question. So really, when I start with my business strategy and I'm trying to achieve results, I need to look at how I design my talent, my group of people, so so that we can get there. So Caleb was talking about how challenging it is to get the right people to do what he thinks is important, which is, you know, it's like, if your business, you know best, right? So again, a lot of this is intuitive. So when I'm hiring, and some of you said that you're really good at hiring, I was pretty good at hiring. I didn't know everything, but I was pretty good at hiring. And people would tell me things that they really shouldn't have told me when I was interviewing. I had one lady tell me that she actually got into a fist fight in a retail store. And this was a person that my sales VP wanted to hire. So it was like, no, we're not hiring this person. So, so we can intuitively know some things that are important. But as business is moving faster, I think that using tools to help us become more agile and doing this and making decisions quickly is really important. So this gives us an opportunity to use technology to save time. So for all of you who are interested, and seeing how you align with your strategy. I'm happy to provide you and 2 people from your team a behavioral assessment. And so I suggest you pick somebody, one person who is great, right? I want like so many more of that type of person. And some of what we can do is to talk about some of the interview questions that you might ask to get that great employee. And then I suggest you pick somebody, an employee that's really challenging for you. And so for the challenging person, just like what you saw before, I can share with you ways to manage that person. So, and I want to get to answering Ava's question, because Ava asked about the person that, I'm going to stop this for a second, and I'm going to go to my predictive index, which is where? I'm going to have to pull it up. So hold on just one second. I'm not going to do that. So I can ask right now, does anybody have any other questions?
Yeah, so one that popped to my mind was that since we do work here at the Incubator with a lot of startups, first-time founders, they may not know what to look for in a specific role. So like for a sales leadership role. So do they just go blind into the process and just pick what they think should work? Or do they work with you to figure out what should work? Or is there sort of like a knowledge base with this assessment that shows what other companies have done when they're picking somebody for a sales leadership position, or any position really for that matter?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So the software has some questions in it that as a business owner, you would answer the questions to identify the job target that you would want to have. And so in just one second, I can show you that, but let me do this. Okay, you're not seeing this. Okay, so you can see this now, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so Ava asked what some of the cautions might be in somebody who is here in the results and discipline quadrant. Is that right, Ava?
Yes.
Okay, so let's look at this, because this might be a challenge for all of us. So this person may be controlling. So if you see me, I'm right here, and I can definitely be too controlling. I'm driving hard to get done things in a certain way, and I might pressure others to get the results when they're going to be uncomfortable with that. And then authoritative with little interest for small talk. I'm describing myself sometimes. So can you see how that would help you in understanding that behavioral type?
Yes.
Yeah. So let's also look at, so Travis asked about a job target. And so here I have a sales manager as a job, but I may want a different type of person. So I'm going to put in an engineer. Right? So I'm going to be able to put in here, some of this is already loaded. So if you can see that right here, I have in existence in the software an architectural engineer. So I'm going to create that job based on the software that already has this in here. So I can either get other people to provide input within the business, or I can skip that and create this on my own. So, and this puts the job target a little bit in the middle, but then I can change this to show that I want the person to be collaborative. I want them definitely to be reserved. I think that's important. I don't necessarily think I want them to be driving, but I want them to be flexible. So in this case, I really created it, but the software does have some assessments in it to some targets in it to help you with that. So thank you. Good question. Are there any other questions? So Doug, do you think this might have helped you when you were hiring that sales manager?
Yes. You know, something that I found a lot, I'm still learning. I mean, years later, you know, you're still learning things from these experiences. And one thing that you know, seemed like in a startup, in an emerging growth, my objective was to hire leaders, not people that wanted to be told what to do, because I was already, you know, had a full plate trying to lead other things. So I needed hire other leaders to lead in their lane. And that's why I failed. That's why I failed. And again, I still don't understand why I failed, why I didn't pick leaders, but I thought I was picking leaders, and really I was picking followers.
Yeah, so let me tell you something too. I think you're right. It's difficult to have people that you expect to grow the business that want you to tell them how to do their job. It's like that takes up so much time. Now, I'll tell you, sometimes we need those people if they're in the process component of the business. So I have a client who, where she's a driver and the person that works for her is in a different quadrant across the quadrant from her, and she's very frustrated with the communication. But what I had to do was explain to her, look, in your kind of business, though, she is providing reports to construction clients, and they have to be incredibly accurate. And so I had to say, look, you need people in that quadrant because you need to produce highly accurate reports. And what I suggested for her was to get somebody in between herself and somebody that was challenging for her to manage, so that it would be a little bit easier for her. I know in running a business, I had somebody that I had a terrible time managing. And so I got somebody in between me and that person so that I wasn't managing them. So Eva asks if you're both a persuader and a craftsman, depending upon the situation. So let me say you're usually one or the other, right? So that's a good question, Eva. So you're usually one or the other, especially when it comes to a persuader or a craftsman. So, but I do think, like I said, a craftsman might move over to a persuader's quadrant if they have to. So, but it's much easier to have somebody else that can do that instead of trying to do everything yourself. So Caleb made a comment, and so I want to mention that where it's difficult to do everything, right? Like you're trying to make the sales, you're trying to provide the product for your customer, you're trying to grow the business, you're trying to hire and fire, and I have so many business owners that before they hire me, they're doing the same thing. They're trying to they're trying to wear all the hats. And so that really is a challenge for running a business because it limits your ability to grow. You only have so many hours in the day. So if you can figure out how to get somebody to do some of these other things and use your resources, and this is where I think the incubator is really helpful, right? Because somebody like Travis can look at how you're trying to do things and decide on some, or just help you suggest some resources to stop trying to do everything yourself and make it a little bit easier. So Doug is asking, do you measure the difference between management and leadership? Boy, Doug, that's a really good question. So I would have to say no, but I would have to tell you, Doug, that if I have somebody in a leadership role, I would expect them to be more driving. And so I'm going to pull up somebody here. Okay, so I'm considered a venturer. And so let me show you something that will help you. Okay, so Doug, you can have somebody that is a manager that is not a leader, and they actually might be more collaborative. So this is me. So I'm incredibly dry. So this is the midpoint. I'm very driving. No, so I'm really focused on getting ahead and succeeding in running my business or any business, and I'm independent. So that is different from being a manager who's maybe a little more over here in the collaborative realm, maybe a little more sociable. So I'd have to say, yes, I'm an introvert. I don't know that there's any cure for that. But go figure. I like people and I'm an introvert, and I don't know how that happened. So, but I do think you can look at the behavioral preferences and see that somebody could be a manager and not a leader because they're not independent and they're not driving. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you know, somebody mentioned Drucker earlier, and Drucker, at one time he spoke about the purpose of management in business, but then he turned it into managing oneself. And it kind of whittles down to make your strengths effective and your weaknesses are irrelevant. Okay, which is great. My experience was my preference is to lead leaders that want to lead themselves, not lead managers that want to manage something.
Yeah, and so it sounds like you're very self-aware. And so I think that's one of the best things in a good business person, because you can do so much more with your business and improving your business if you start off with working on your own ability to know yourself, right? As I have gotten to know JJ, I would say JJ is pretty self-aware. So those of you who know JJ, I don't know, Travis, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. He's very self-aware. He's been around so many different types of businesses, from as a consultant, as an executive, as a founder himself, as an investor. And so he's been able to test his mettle in so many different ways that he sees the results, and he has a really good grasp on reality. And I think also what helps with him is that he's very goal oriented. And so in order to really achieve those goals, the better you know yourself, the better you know the people around you and all the other pieces that fit into it, the more success you're gonna meet. And so that's been something that I think has really helped him a lot over the years, and it's great working with him because it's also a learning experience all the time.
Yeah. So if we start off, so Doug, the fact that you're self-aware, I think that really helps to, as you're starting off, to know what type of person you want to hire. I'd have to say we haven't heard from Deepti or Ali yet. So what are your thoughts on this?
I agree that, as a small business owner, one needs to wear multiple hats, and yeah, it's good to know. the personality types and understand how we can work together.
Yeah. So, and you know what came to mind? You said you're also in psychology, correct?
Yeah.
So, and I've had people ask me, could you trick the assessment tool? Right? So
Yeah.
I know what I should look like. So I'm just going to give you all the right answers. And so it's funny that I had my brother-in-law take the assessment tool, and then I went to look at, so the average, there's a number at the bottom of the assessment, and it's usually somewhere in between 15 and 100, right? So and that's how I know the assessment tool is fairly accurate. My brother-in-law's number was like 240. I think he was trying to scam the test or the assessment. So, so it's funny that, but that was good. That helped me understand what it looks like when somebody does try to scam the assessment.
And I just had a quick question, like, so is this assessment like based on the DISC assessment or MBTI? Because like in the past, I've taken them and I know about it, but just a question.
Yeah, it's not the same as DISC, but I'd say that the assessment tools are all pretty similar. So DISC has 4 general categories, and this has 17.
Oh, okay.
So this has 17 different personality types, but as you see, 4 different quadrants. So and so I'm not going to say one assessment tool is right and one assessment tool is wrong. So I think Cal State Fullerton uses a different assessment tool, correct?
We've used a couple in the classroom. I know JJ has somebody come into his entrepreneurship classes to run an assessment tool every semester. I mean, I know that like Myers-Briggs is taught in the classroom. There are a lot of assessment tools out there.
Yeah. My recommendation is to find one that works for you.
Yeah.
So, and there are different ways to use the assessment tools, but I just think I wish I had started using an assessment tool sooner than I did. But I think that they're all pretty helpful. Anything that can give you a better insight into the people that you're hiring or looking to hire, I think is helpful. So Ollie, do you have any input?
Thank you so much.
Oh, sure. Thank you, Dipti. So Ollie, did you want any input? Or Perla or Annie?
Oh, hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
1 second, I can hear you. Yes, I don't have much suggestions. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Oh, I just wondered if you had any input about using an assessment tool, because you have a business, correct?
Yes. No, I do have suggestion. I'm so sorry. I was just a little bit background noises. I think it's actually very accurate for, I'm sorry, Quincy. I think it's fairly accurate regarding the processing and the number. Oh my God, I just don't like that stuff, and I just, oh my God, it's driving me crazy and nuts. So I totally recommend everyone to take it and get to understand of yourself and get to remind who you are and what kind of people you need to work with, and not to overlook your own weaknesses. And I have come to the point to accept my own weaknesses and strengths. So
yeah. So Annie is one of those people that looks for the resources and tools. So good job.
Thank you, Marla.
And she was a good student at Chapman.
Thank you. You're so good.
Okay, so any other questions?
And Marla, I created a short little sign-up sheet so that people can enter their information, and if they want more from you, if they want to get your PowerPoint, for example. Mind if I put that in the chat?
Oh, that's perfectly fine. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So I really am happy that I had a chance to meet all of you and get to know a little bit about you and your businesses. And I look forward to talking to you further if you're interested. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I got a little bit hectic earlier today, but I think it's the assessment tool is great because you know it predict myself. I'm not predicting, but it's so much valuable information in that test, and I didn't realize I never enjoy. I mean, I wake up, there's so many things I'm exciting about, but doing spreadsheet and doing Excel is not on my list. It's not like, oh, I'm so excited waking up doing that stuff. So it's worth trying. It's just a couple minutes of your time, and you have so much realistic expectation of yourself.
Yeah, good. Yeah, and again, when you're running a business, having that knowledge of yourself is a really helpful beginning. And you know, somebody that is really precise, looking at in that precision quadrant, looking to expand, it might be helpful to have a partner who is innovative and agile. You know, it's like Annie and Perla, they would make good partners, right? Because Annie knows how to grow the business, and Perla would make sure everything was perfect. So yeah, good. So I'm going to put my contact information in here too. So if anybody wants to get a hold of me, yeah, if I could type. Oh, good. Good. Nice to meet all of you. So,
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marla.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, any question at Marla? See, it's so kind. See, it's so kind.
That's good. All righty.
All right, so I guess we'll just we'll leave the line open for a couple more minutes if anybody has any other questions for Marla or myself or JJ. But I think we're all set, right, Marla?
Yes. Yes. And if there is anything that you would like for me to demonstrate on the software, I'd be happy to do that for you. I've got it open.
Thank you very much, Marla.
Thank you, JJ. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, and if you want to put your LinkedIn link in there, we could all follow each other. I think that's a good idea. Thank you, Caleb.
Yeah, good thinking.
You're welcome.
Yeah, any question in doing e-commerce? I just got on e-commerce, and I think it's just interesting place.
Yeah, so Annie, you're doing e-commerce right now, correct?
Yeah, I'm doing e-commerce startup, and I didn't get it by choice because the crazy coronavirus thing, and it's you know, going to this at funny at the south. It's just because we just keep on pivoting and trying to figure things out, and it been a really crazy ride so far, but I'm glad that you know, we had ways to work around things.
Yeah, so pivot seems to be the term of the day, right? We're all trying to do things, and Zoom has been a great solution, actually. Like Travis said earlier, I'm not driving very much, which makes me happy, but I still like seeing people. So yeah, and I chair a group called Women's Presidents Organization. And so a number of that group have taken the assessments, and a lot of them are drivers. They're mavericks. They're persuaders like you are, Annie. So and they need to be strong in growing their business. So
What organization are you in?
Women's Presidents Organization. So it's a group of women who run their own businesses, and so they, for anywhere from, I've got a home care company and a project management business, PR business, a couple of attorneys, so women business owners, and it's international. We actually went to South Africa last year with a woman who has a PR business in South Africa, who's a member of WPO. So great connections.
Before anyone off, I seen you guys at my family, and I do think everyone here at my family, and I do think sometimes we just thinking about so many things that disadvantage to us, but who knows, is that disadvantage or advantage, right? I was trying so hard before, trying to get to a store, and they just ignoring me, and now see how poorly they are right now. They don't do well because people don't want to go to the store, and now we have Zoom, we had Facebook, we had LinkedIn. There's so many ways that we can be visible, so I think we have a very fair playground now as an entrepreneur in Ontario or anywhere in the world.
So Annie, are you going to give a shout out for the incubator?
Yeah, it's a great place. I mean, please consider joining. It's a great place to hang out with ambition people, and hang out with people who are supportive, who are have more guidance, and and it's 6 months is not the only time there. The friendship you last for a long time. Even then, that's worth every penny, right? You only need 1 or 2 person that pull you to the right direction, right? It's like, dude, so you keep on hanging. Well, I said that you will hit many doors, but only 1 or 2 people that you need that definitely can guide you to the right destinations.
Yeah, good. Yeah, so you get to meet some other successful business people, right?
Yeah.
I am a huge believer in peer groups. So Vistage, WPO, actually SCORE has a peer group as well. So all of them places to look for people, other business people who can help in the incubator success.
Yeah, if you on LinkedIn, I would definitely follow you and like your posts, and and just to support you. I don't know what you're working on, but if that's whatever you're working on, and if I think entrepreneurship is hard because people don't know you don't understand your ambition, they don't understand your dreams. I understand it all. I failed many times, but so I understand it, and and I'll support you. I will want to listen to you, and I think that's the more important thing for entrepreneurship.
Good. Yes. Entrepreneurship is very important in this country. Entrepreneurs, right? So the fact that we can support entrepreneurs, I think, incredibly important, because we know it's hard, right? Starting a business is extremely difficult. So it's important to have help. It would also be helpful to have a good internet connection. So good. Caleb, can you tell us a little bit more about your business?
Caleb is an introvert, guys.
Introvert? I'm just checking you guys out. I probably would land on the middle of the spectrum for sure, because I can go into both. And I thought it was like an interesting idea. Like, someone's point of view of a leader is like so different depending on the situation. Like, do you want a collaborative leadership style that can create innovation, or do you want someone that's more independent to create that innovation? It's like the point of view like could vary for sure. From what I've seen, like I've seen collaboration has been like the prime example that I've seen like going through school, and also like people at Disney who have like created all these different cartoons and things like that, how they innovate. They definitely rely on like group activities, like to imagine, you know.
Imagineers, yeah. And actually, you're very right. I think collaborative and being creative, I think that's enjoyable. So I do think that there are different situations where you might change your behavioral preference. So I'm in a writing class. And so as a writing group, we're talking about, collaborating on some stories. And to me, that sounds like a huge amount of fun. But just writing by myself, it's like, I don't really like just being, secluded and, not with a group of people.
Right? Yeah, I agree.
I like people. I'm an introvert, but I like people.
You have to.
So quick question, Marla. So for this assessment, and I may have asked you this when we talked a couple weeks ago, but like, is somebody's personality pretty, set in stone over the course of their life, or does it change over time?
I think it changes. And we talked about this actually at Predictive Index. I think it depends upon the situation. So where in running a business, I would say I was more collaborative, right? Because I had a really good team of executives. So I had, 4 people that were part of the team, and I don't like to micromanage, and so I liked everybody to work together. Like the strategic planning meetings that was not one person saying, dictating. It was everybody providing input. So I would say that it depends upon your circumstances, and you may gravitate a little bit more towards one behavior, but you may find, like, so I have my own business now, so I have to be independent, right? Because I don't have a partner. But would I change if I had a partner? I would say possibly. Yeah.
Interesting. I have a question. For the scale that I saw on the software, it's kind of interesting. Maybe you can share some thoughts of like the collaborative, observe, driving, flexible, like that chart. Like, how do you think like self-awareness or like anxiety or depression like plays into that fact that like your personality does change over time? Because I think that like it could, once you get rid of like that self belief system that like are holding you back from being that person that you are, that is holding you down in anxiety or depression. Like, what do you think about that?
I think that's a good question, and I don't have a good answer for that, because I think the assessment tools can only go so far. So, I'm sorry, Dipsy is out of our Zoom, because she might be able to answer that. So the assessment, I think, only tells us what your behavioral preferences are. And so if there are other things in the mix, depression, anxiety, I think that might change how you answer those questions. We had somebody that was actually learning Predictive Index while she had coronavirus, and her behavioral assessment changed after she got better. So, right. I would say that yes, you have some influencing factors that might change how you are answering the questions.
I love that. I took one workshop and they said, oh, it's probably not going to change that much. In one workshop I went to.
Yeah.
I think it was based on like the ocean, though, the ocean personality test.
Oh, You know, there are a lot of assessments out there, and I'm not going to say anything is right or wrong, but I do think that you know, you are answering the questions. It's your mindset of where you are when you're actually answering those questions. So I think if you have some challenges that are overriding, like anxiety, depression, sickness, those things will possibly change the way you answer those questions. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. So is there anything you would like to see in the assessment software?
Anything else?
I thought that was really cool when you showed them side by side two people, like how they compare.
Yeah, actually, I think it's helpful to, you're talking about the relationship guide.
Yeah.
And so so this is me, and say if I was working with Annie, this is me and Annie, and this is telling us that we're very assertive when communicating with each other. And Annie is going to communicate. We're going to be fairly informal and be good with ad hoc, like spur of the moment. We're going to just, you know, communicate really fast. Our cautions, we're going to be kind of butting up against each other if we both are have our own opinion and we disagree. So we might not be listening to the other person, but we can have constructive conversations. We probably want to avoid formal communication methodologies. So these are some of our tips. So we should always acknowledge that the other person has a point of view, right? Which is, you know, nice. And then, so we should make sure we're not talking past each other. So we all want our opinions. Annie talks really fast. I can't keep up with her. And so we might not keep track of our discussion. So email is a good method of communication for us. So these relationship tips are really helpful.
These are super in-depth. Love it.
I missed that. I'm sorry.
It's super in-depth. I love it.
Yeah, this is just fun software. I think that it gives me some ideas of how to interview for people. I really enjoy the graph and how to look at the different personalities and see, you know, what the typical makeup is. So we didn't look at this personality. So anybody sitting in teamwork and employee experience would be cooperative, motivating, may not be conservative and cautious. Actually, I had an employee that was very much like this and was really a risk taker. So.
Okay.
And I had an employee that was here. This person actually didn't even want to ever drive the freeways. So pretty interesting.
Is that a question on the assessment?
No, maybe in this area it should be. So if you're in California and you're trying to drive the freeways, maybe you should be a little concerned. So yeah.
I noticed. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Eva.
I noticed the website has like 4 different assessment: behavioral, strategic, etc. Are those different softwares that you have to purchase? And then this is one specific software, and about what the cost may be?
So that's a good question, Ava. It's so it's one software, and so there might be different components of the software that you would want to get. So, and it really depends upon the number of employees. So if you have 50 employees, it's one cost, and it really depends on the different components that you are interested in getting. So I'd be happy to answer that question for you if you want to talk offline, because there are a lot of different options. So
Great, thank you.
it's not inexpensive, but what I do think of it is, if you have an organization and you're hiring people, what is the cost of hiring the wrong person? So if you look at it up against, like if I hired the wrong sales manager, which, oh, by the way, I did, then what was the cost of my time and effort to recruit, hire, train, and then what was my cost to in lost revenue, right? Because I had the wrong sales manager. So that there's a huge price to pay for hiring the wrong person.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. So good. Thank you very much.
All right, I think we're just about out of time. So thank you again very much for all that you've done for us, Marla. This was a great talk. I think we all learned a little bit of something about personalities, how they fit, how to build a stronger team using the assessment. And if there's no more questions, I think I'll say goodbye.
All right. Thank you so much, Travis. I really appreciate it. And so nice to meet all of you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye, Mama.
Bye, Annie. Bye.
See you.
But